Hi, I'm Matt Sullivan, part-time chef. Welcome to Cooking Food from the Farm, where we cook vegetables and produce from the local educational farm at Joppa Hill, located in Bedford, New Hampshire. Today, we're talking about kale. It's early April. There's not much exactly in season yet, but this is one of the first vegetables to come out of the high tunnels. And if you've ever been part of a CSA or you've been to the farm stand recently to pick up some food and produce, this comes in abundance. People love it, but honestly, when you start searching for recipes, the biggest qualifier is, but this tastes good. Kale is a very hardy vegetable. It's actually a member of the cabbage family. From my reading, that kale actually comes from the Latin word of caulus, which is where we get cauliflower, so you get a little education today. But it's hardy, it's fibrous, loaded with vegetables. It is a vegetable. It's hardy, it's fibrous, it's loaded with vitamins and nutrients. There's iron and B12 and vitamin K because it's kale, I don't know. And it's bitter. It's really bitter. I know some people love kale salad, that's great. People do kale chips, another one, kale smoothies. Today we're going to be doing Caldo Verde, which is a Portuguese kale soup. I'm going to use linguiça in it as well and go from there. I will say, first of all, Matt Sullivan. I am Irish. I am not Portuguese. I am sure I'm going to do something here that's non-traditional. If you are Portuguese, please forgive me. I'm doing my best here. But the first thing you're going to want to do with kale is get rid of this stem in the middle. So what we're going to do is just go through and just tear off. I'm putting this all in a colander because I'm going to then rinse it. And you get rid of that. Technically it's edible, it's really tough to eat, it's not going to make the soup any better, so just get rid of it now. If you want to put it through a juicer, put it through a juicer, it's going to become compost. Bring it back to the farm, feed it to the goats, all a good thing. So I'm going to go through this, get this all destemmed, chop this up, half-inch, inch pieces. You want them to be about spoon size, and then we'll start making the soup. Okay, so I got a heavy bottom pan here going. Gonna put a little olive oil in the bottom just to help get me started. Then I have some linguiça, which is a super garlicky, fatty sausage. You could always substitute something like just get linguiça. It's available at all the grocery stores. Or kielbasa. I guess you could use kielbasa. I'm just going to get this going in the oil. Let some of that fat render. Let some of the spices, which is pretty mild. It's like paprika and garlic, and that's about it. Let that render out a little bit, and let that get going. Just want to get a little bit of color on these. Alright, once we got that, some of the fat rendered out, some light color on there. Just going to pull this all out. Use a slotted spoon. If you have a spider, use a spider. And you end up with a bunch of linguiça fat, which is amazing. To that fat, we're going to put 1/2 of a large, in this case, just yellow onion. Stir that. Now we're not trying to brown these or get color on them. As they pick up the fat and some of that fond at the bottom, they will get a little color. We're just trying to soften them, get a little bit of translucency happening. I don't know if translucency is a word, but we're going to go with it. A little pinch of salt to help draw the liquid out. A couple of cracks of pepper. Just let this go for a few minutes. Alright, once they start to soften up, I think this is pretty non-traditional, but I got 2 cloves of finely minced garlic, because anything sauteing in sausage fat and onions should have garlic. Just let that go 30 seconds. You'll smell the garlic almost immediately. And then the tradition is water, but I've been on a big bone broth kick recently. So we're gonna add 2 quarts of bone broth. And from there, just turn it on high, let it come to a boil, then we're going to back it down to a simmer. Okay, now that the broth and onions and garlic have come to a boil, we're going to turn down the heat to medium-low and add, I have some cubed diced potatoes here, about 3 pounds. I used Yukon Gold, you could use russet. You want something with some amount of starch on it, that is going to actually thicken up the soup. So we're gonna let this go at medium-low. Gonna be about 20-30 minutes. You want to do it until the potatoes are tender. Check on them periodically, and we'll come back later. Okay, so the potatoes have been going for about 15-18 minutes now, and all you want to do is you want to check with a paring knife for no resistance, just like a body. What? So anyway, knife slides right in. It's good to go. On a traditional stew, the potatoes would be bigger, and at this point then you'd mash them in to thicken the soup up a little bit. But personally, I like actual potato chunks in my soup, and I couldn't find my potato masher. So this is what we're doing today. The next step is where we're going to start adding the kale. Big thing about kale you gotta remember is it's mostly water. So while I have a ton of it here, and it's gonna look like it doesn't all fit, just take your time and it will all get in there. I'm gonna lower the heat down to low, medium-low. Just keep pushing in, let it fit all in. We're going to get it all in. Perfect. Now we're just going to let this simmer for about 30 minutes. I like my kale to be super tender. I don't want crunch. I don't want fiber in there. I just want this to be beautiful, green, and we'll come back in about a half hour. Okay, so the soup's been simmering for about 25 minutes now. The kale is super tender. Just going to give the broth a little bit of taste for salt and seasoning. Doesn't need much, but just a little. Pinch of salt. A couple cracks of pepper. Then we're going to add in that beautiful linguiça. Make sure to get as much of that fat in as possible. There we go. It's good to go. Let's get this plated up or bowled up. Okay, so we're just going to hit it with a little drizzle of olive oil over the top. I'm a little bit of a spice fiend. So I'm just going to sprinkle on a few crushed red peppers, flakes, and come on, look at that. Tender potatoes, tender kale, beautiful sausage, a nice broth. Again, I used chicken bone broth. You could use water if you want. I wouldn't use beef broth, but chicken stock, chicken broth works. For what, 5-6 ingredients? Linguiça, potatoes, kale, garlic, unofficial, and the broth. This is so good. It has depth. The kale is not bitter, yet it's still, there's this earthiness and richness to the soup from everything. Oh God, this is good. Again, not 100% traditional. Normally there wouldn't be garlic. The potatoes would probably be mashed in a little bit. Oh, onion. I forgot the onion. The onion's in there too. It's such a great soup, perfect for spring. Not too heavy, and a great use of kale that you don't have to sneak into a smoothie or some other salad that people aren't going to eat. So come down to the farm, check out the farm stand. We have fresh kale, more fresh vegetables coming as everything comes into season. And stay tuned for more episodes of Food from the Farm with part-time chef Matt Sullivan. Kale soup. Bow, 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 bow.